ahead and kick off our webinar series or our session today. So again, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate your attendance. This is our ProLinkHFA monthly webinar series that we host. Today's topic is going to be covering managing returned credits and additional credits in the tax credit allocation module in ProLinkHFA. So we appreciate you for being here, and we'll go ahead and kick things off. Um, to start, I'm just going to cover a very brief overview of ProLink, and then I'm going to hand it off to Ryan to cover our recycled allocations and returned credit topics and show some of those examples in ProLinkHFA today. For just to introduce ourselves, I am Bree Kruder. I'm the Executive Vice President for ProLink, and I'm joined by Ryan Kim today as my co-presenter. He is our Vice President of Professional Services. Thanks, Ryan, for being here with me. Okay, and going into ProLink, just really quick, if you're new to us, many are not. I know a lot of our attendees are existing clients that tune in regularly, but if you're new to ProLink, we have been in, supporting the affordable housing industry for more than 25 years now, and we provide software that supports what we consider the three pillars of affordable housing. Our state and local housing finance agencies, which are the primary users of ProLinkHFA. We have our tax credit syndicators and investors, which use a system similar to ProLinkHFA for their needs. And then we also support developers with Procorum and some additional tools to provide them with additional support in the process of supplying affordable housing. Our work, we really strive to build holistic systems that connect the different parties involved in building housing and maintaining compliance in an efficient manner. So that's our focus. And then moving with the industry, making sure that we continue to evolve and meet the needs that are ever changing and a lot of times increasing in affordable housing. We are a team of technologists that really have dedicated our careers to this industry. So I'm really very pleased and proud of the team that we have at ProLink and our expertise on the business side, which is, I think, unique to ProLink to really understand the needs and uniqueness of affordable housing and support our clients in that manner. Moving forward, this is just a quick picture of our existing clients. So those of you involved in user group or new clients who have recently come on board, you are one of total of 20 agencies that use ProLinkHFA. We support 18 housing finance agencies, 2 supportive services agencies within states, within the states of California and New York. And then we're currently implementing onboarding Pennsylvania Housing, Hawaii Housing, and Maryland. Those are our newer agencies. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being our clients and our partners. This last slide is just a picture for those who are newer, maybe newer to your agency who's been using ProLink for a while or not a current ProLinkHFA user. ProLinkHFA is made up of 3 major modules. We have a development module, a tax credit allocation module for those 4 and 9% allocations, and then we have our asset management and compliance module. So what we've been focusing on so far this year and plan to continue focusing on in this webinar series is our development and our tax credit allocation module. Development module is where we would manage like non-tax credit programs, grants, and other funding sources that are supported and managed by our state agencies. And then the tax credit allocation module is where we manage those allocations. Okay, so to kick us off, and this is just to really preface the topic that Ryan's going to dive into today, we have a picture of I want to make sure that I'm clear, this is an old, maybe many years old snapshot of within Section 42, where the tax credit ceiling is described. So please to just get the latest 2025 guidance and like the minimum state value, your multipliers for 2025, you're going to want to make sure you're looking at the current year section 42 section. So this is just a screenshot, but the main considerations in calculating your total credit ceiling for the state is still the same. So there's a few components that we just wanted to highlight for you. Again, just to sort of set the table for Ryan diving into the two concepts of returned credits and then unused credits and how we manage those in ProLinkHFA. So first of all, in calculating that total ceiling, that total amount of credits to allocate for the year annually, it is a combination of a few different considerations. One is the unused LITEX from the previous year, which are carried forward into the next year. Often what we understand is that this is under 2% of the previous allocation year, so it's a smaller amount. Then in addition to that, there's a concept called the vast majority, which is this basically the state population multiplied by a dollar figure established by the IRS, and it goes up with inflation annually. So right here on the screenshot we provided, that value in the past was 1.7 $1.75 per capita. I'm sure it's gone up since this screenshot, but that would be multiplied by that state population. And if the jurisdiction has a low population, then it does receive an alternative small state minimum value, which on this screen shows it was 2 million back at the time that this was the current guidance. Then we have the concept of LITEX returned by owners. So this is one of the examples Ryan's going to be going over today. So this is when owners return credits from a previous calendar year allocation. That return can be either partial due to the agency determining that their property needs less LITEX than they were originally awarded, or it can be a full return either voluntarily or as a result of not meeting a requirement. Some of those requirements are stipulated in the lower paragraph of this screenshot, such as the 10% test, or not becoming a qualified low-income housing project by a certain date. So those are some of the reasons why you might see returned credits. And then lastly, we have a concept called the national pool, which is managed by the Internal Revenue Service. It is the process of collecting credits that jurisdictions basically did not use over multiple years. And so those credits are collected and then distributed to those jurisdictions that allocated most of their ceiling in previous years. So that is also a consideration. So I'm going to go ahead with, now that we've kind of had that overview and set the table, I'm going to hand this off to Ryan to cover a couple of the concepts that have come up recently, actually through questions in previous webinars. And we wanted to share some examples today on how to manage those unused and returned credits in ProLinkHFA. So Ryan, I will hand it off to you to take over.
Right, thanks, Bree. I just replaced your screen sharing. So hopefully
Great.
you're looking at the webinar series roadmap.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for the overview, Bree. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here today and excited to present today's topic. Before we go into today's topic, just wanted to recap our webinar roadmap for this year. We've been hearing these questions from our customers lately, and things like asking about TCA allocation cycle utility, how ProLink is supporting housing trust fund and home programs, or how to track credit amount at the allocation cycle level. So those are all great questions, and that's why we decided to focus this year's webinar to be based on your burning questions. So from February through May, we are covering TCA module, and then starting June through September, we'll be covering debt module in this webinar series. So just stay tuned, and a lot of good materials are being prepared and delivered to you each month throughout the year. Just recap February and March webinar. February webinar was presented by Tom Deng, who's our professional services member at Prolink Solutions. Tom went over TCA allocation cycle utility. There are some compelling questions Tom was responding. Those are the 4 bullets. You have a YouTube recording. This link should be being shared in the chat right now. So you can click that link anytime and be able to watch this webinar. March webinar I was presenting the topic of state tax credit programs, how we support state tax credit programs on TCA allocation cycle utility. And I also went down into TCA deal level and talked about what kind of data points could be tracked as far as managing your state tax credit programs. Again, the YouTube link should be being shared in the chat right now. So click on that link anytime, and you'll be able to watch this recording of webinar if you missed it in February and March. So let's go into today's topic, which is essentially showcasing how ProLinkHFA supports your managing your state housing credit ceiling as defined in section 42 that Bree just went over. We are here to discuss exceptional scenarios that might not be common, but they do happen. And this is mostly happening in the context of 9% competitive cycle. So I'll be presenting 2 different scenarios here. On the left column is struggle with schedule. So this is a simpler scenario, which is related to schedule delay on this projects. So this is a case where there's no change in credit amount itself. Developers are not looking for more credits from you, but they just cannot meet the timeline that was established in carryover allocation. They just need more time. The reason could be something legitimate, such as like COVID or major natural disaster. Those could be reasons for time delay. And let's walk through with some real dates. So let's say there's a deal that received credit reservation in 2021 cycle and subsequently received the carryover allocation, which means project needs to be placed in service and completed by the end of calendar year 2023. But when the deal is delayed beyond 2023, the deal requires an extension from the agency. Most likely, they would like to extend it through the end of 2024 or 25. This scenario has no impact on your state credit ceiling. It's a simple transfer of credit amount from this year to that year. There's a net change is 0 across the 2 different credit cycles between 2021 and let's say 2023. People also refer to this scenario as refresh or recycle allocation. And in Prolink, we use multi-year tracking functionality that's built into both TCA deal level as well as your cycle utility level. The second scenario is struggle with the cost. So depending on your QAP, some minor cost overage can be acceptable to you with some legitimate reason, and you might approve additional credits for that development, right? However, when the cost increase is over a certain threshold, at that point, the agency would require allocated credits to be returned, and developer has to compete again in the current cycle. This scenario is going back to the portion of section 42 that Bree was just going over, where all return credits from prior year cycles are added to the current year's state housing credit ceiling. So in Prolink, the agency can use return credit functionality that's built into the utility cycle level. So I prepared two examples for you today to walk you through. One example will be the recycle allocation scenario on the left, and then the second example will be return credit scenario on the right column. So let's start with the first example. People again refer to this scenario as refresh or recycle allocation. This is again easier scenario, no changes in credit amount, just extending the timeline. Has no impact on your state credit ceiling. This is our cycle, TCA allocation cycle utility you're looking at. I prepared two examples today that are originally assigned to 2021 9% cycle. For this recycle allocation example, I'm going to show you a deal that's originally assigned to 2021 cycle, how that gets recycled in 2023 9% cycle. So imagine you're clicking on this 21 9% cycle here, right here, which will take us to 2021 9% cycle page. And you're looking at listing of all active deals that belong to 2021 9% deals, 9% cycle. These are the two example deals I prepare for this webinar. And for first example, we'll be using Autumn Place. Autumn Place obviously belongs to 21 9% cycle, and it has $473,000 in credit amount that has been issued and allocated. If you are curious about or confused about how to input credit amount issued column, then you can watch our February webinar where Tom covered this topic under frequently asked question number 3 in that webinar. So at this point, I'm going to pull up our demo environment so I can do a live demo for you. So again, you can see 21 9% cycle. You see Autumn Place with the 473,000. Let's navigate to the 9% tab. Here we go. So we're in 21 9% cycle page and looking at 9% tab. This tab basically breaks down your state housing credit ceiling for you. This page is designed to really reflect IRS Section 42, where it defines state housing credit ceiling. The main components I like to highlight will be per capita credit, 23.5 million, which is the state population-driven credit amount, which makes up the vast majority. You also have a national pool credit, which is the little one, and then return credit, another small piece. These numbers add up to your state credit ceiling for 2021 cycle. It happens to be 23.6 million in this case. Now, let's navigate back to deal listing. So note 23.6 was your housing credit ceiling for 2021. Right now, we have all the deals adding up to 4.7 million. One of which is Autumn Place, again, 473,000. So now let's say Autumn Place developer came to you after receiving 2021 credit reservation for this amount, and then they receive carryover allocation. So that means they have to complete this project by end of 2023. Let's say in 22 or early 23, developer comes to you and say, because of COVID or some other like major reason, they cannot complete by end of 23, like to extend the timeline. Let's say you approve the request, throw this project into current cycle, which right now we are in 23 cycle. There's no credit amount change. It's a simple change from 21 to 23 recycle or refresh. So what should you do in ProLinkHFA? I'm gonna keep this tab open, but create duplicate, and we'll click on Autumn Place to navigate to the TCA deal level page. All right, it should show up pretty soon. Okay, now we're looking at Autumn Place within the TCA deal level page. You can see clearly Autumn Place is assigned to 2021 9% cycle here. Now, in order to recycle this deal from 21 cycle to 23 9% cycle, you have to use multi-year tracking functionality in our system. Let me navigate to that page. Multi-year tracking tab. So by default, all your active TCA deals are going to look like this, where it has 473,000 populated, and then same value populated for amount issued from assigned cycle, which is 21 9% cycle, as you can see in this corner. Now we are going to zero this out. And then pre-allocated amount, I'm going to put 473,921, the entire amount. Select the additional cycle to be 23 9% competitive. And at this point, I could add a reason such as project has a delay due to COVID. And then hit save. After saving this update, you will see that it's still assigned to 21 allocation cycle. So nothing really changed, but by using multi-year tracking here at the deal level, now you can see that change at the cycle level. So let's go back to our first tab where we have 21 cycle up open, and I'm going to refresh this page. And just confirm Autumn Place is still here, right? Although we recycled 23, Autumn Place is officially still assigned to 21 cycle. Let me create a new tab here and go to 23 9% cycle. So now you can see first tab represents 21 cycle, and then second tab we have 23 cycle open side by side. And let me walk you through 23 cycle real quick. Looking at the housing credit ceiling, this is a very basic scenario of $30 million housing credit ceiling, all based on state population. But if you go to multi-year tracking tab, this is where you can see Autumn Place showing up as a $0 for 21, and entire 473,000 is recycled in 23 cycle. Let's go back to cycle 2021, and we'll do the same thing. Multi-year tracking. Now there are a few more deals, but Autumn Place shows up here as a $0 for 21 and 473 for 2023. Let me just end the presentation with just describing a couple of different options here. You don't have to allocate entire amount to 23. It could be partial. So you can maybe keep 200,000 here for the current cycle 21, and then the rest to be assigned to 2023. That's an option for you. I feel like I'm running out of time a little bit, so let me just move a little faster. Return credit scenario is when there are, for many different reasons, right? Costs increase. You know, sometimes the developers kind of let go of the project and they say, okay, we're going to return the credits. At that point, what should you do as an agency in ProLinkHFA? Again, I'm using same scenario where the deal is in 2021 cycle and we are in 22 or 23, and we are going to return the credits using these two deals. So now I'm going to focus on West End apartment that has $250,000 credit amount issued from 2021 cycle. Let me bring up our environment. Okay, so 21 cycle. You can see the West End apartment located at the bottom of 21 cycle with 250,000. And let's navigate to leave this 21 and 23 cycle tabs open. And then on the third tab, I'm going to navigate to West End apartment. And then go to that edit deal page where I'm just going to confirm this is still assigned to 21 cycle. So in order to terminate this deal and return the credit, you change the status to terminated. Put the date, let's say we are in early 2023. Termination reason, this is a pick list. You can customize the way you like. And then hit save. So the deal's status has been changed from active to terminated. So now we go back to 21 cycle. I'm going to refresh this page. And what you're going to see is the change is West End has been dropped. And in order to see West End, you can look at the default view that has all the deals, including inactive deals. And you'll be able to see West End's as a terminated status. Here we go, West End terminated 250,000. Let's go back to 23 9% cycle. Let me refresh it. So we just returned the credits, but haven't done return credit action yet. I guess we just changed the status of the deal from active to terminated status, but we haven't done return credit action. So it's still showing $30 million as a housing credit ceiling, but you can hit add return here on the return credit tab. And select the cycle the West End is assigned to, and West End apartment. This gets populated for you. Grab the same amount and reason. You can type reason here and save and return. I am almost done. So one last page I'm going to show you will be housing credit ceiling page where 250,000 gets added to your original 30 million to update your housing credit ceiling to be 30 million and 250,000. Okay, so I have one last slide to go over and then we'll hand off to Bree. This is the 8610 form that you can generate from ProLinkHFA. So under part 2, line C, where it says enter the amount of credit ceiling returned in 2024 from allocation prior to 2023. So if it was 2023, 8610, then this is where you'll see West End apartments return credit amount of 250,000 being populated from ProLinkHFA. This is just a sneak preview into our next webinar in May, which Bree will introduce. And this is my handoff to Bree.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Thank you guys again for being here. You know, these webinars are pretty short, sweet, to the point. We have 30 minutes. Really, we're trying to demonstrate some of the functionality available in ProLink that you can inquire with us about in our MBRs. If you're existing clients of ours and you're meeting with us likely monthly, or there's a group of you who are. So certainly if you'd like to ask further questions or dive deeper into these concepts that we cover in the webinars, you're welcome to reach out to us through those monthly meetings or through Zendesk, through our help center. We'd be glad to give you more content there. And then we will be touching on these subjects in more detail towards our ProLink Tech Live virtual training conference that we host in the fall. So just be rest assured that there's opportunity to dive deeper into these areas. But hopefully it's been helpful for you to get some indication of how to use some of this functionality and that it is available in ProLink HFA. And see what we're focused on as a technology provider. And for our next webinar, we're going to be talking about reporting tax credits with those 8609s and 8610s in ProLink HFA. So one thing I want to point out about our next webinar is that we are changing the time and the date from our typical cadence. It's usually the first Wednesday of the month, and we are, I think this is the second Wednesday in May, 14th, at 2 p.m. Eastern, so an hour delay. That's to accommodate our in-person user conference, which is scheduled the week prior. So thank you all for those who are going to be joining us in person in Colorado for that. And thank you for those who will continue to join this session. We look forward to seeing you on the 14th of May. Some of the things you can see that we'll be highlighting in that session. So we're going to cover how ProLink HFA data populates the 8609 and 8610 IRS forms, creating and populating an 8610 form from scratch, and then associating 8609s and Schedule A's to an 8610. So we will see you there. Thank you for your time today and have a wonderful afternoon.